This video is sponsored by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to help realize your projects. If there's one thing I love more than Formula 1, or myself, it's junior Formula racing. In the junior categories, you see some of the future stars of motor racing rise through the ranks, honing their skills on the support bill of the main series, trying to prove themselves to be the next big thing in motor racing. Of course, 99.9% of the time, most of those drivers find out that getting into Formula 1 is harder than a horse getting out of a glue factory. Regardless, there are a few that slip past these monetary issues, who are picked up through the merit of their own results. Drivers such as Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc, who were just a step above the rest. Drivers of whom you could just tell were special by the way they drove the car and applied themselves to racing. Of course, results don't tell you everything, but these guys were not short of results. In preparation for this video, I asked Flores from the F1 Feeder Series account to conduct a survey where we would be asking which current Feeder Series driver would be the next big thing. Now, if you trawl through the answers, you'll get your standard array of picks, which would include Dennis Hauger, Robert Schwartzman, Jahan Daruvala, and the British Lawnmower Racing Association.
Sure, Cammy.
And then of course, you will see plenty of claims for the FIA Formula 3 champion, Oscar Piastri. And hey, this is a fair claim, given how he is the champion. However, there was one other name that was thrown around a little bit more commonly than any other driver, and it was the kid who finished second to Piastri. Now, to anyone somewhat oblivious to the intangibles of motorsport, they may be wondering why people are touting the supposed Buzz Aldrin of F3 as the next big superstar for Formula 1. Well, this kid is fast becoming a hot favourite in the paddock among experts for a reason. Personally, I believe this kid to be the best feeder series driver since Charles Leclerc. But why do I think this way? What makes Theo Pourchaire so special? Now, before we get into the nitty gritty, if you're feeling somewhat aggrieved that I don't consider your favourite driver to be the next F1 superstar, I'm sorry, but that's kinda how life goes, I suppose. But hey, if you want, I can make it up to you and offer you a little sweetener before we delve into the video. You know what's coming, don't you? Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to help generate your own gorgeous website. You start off by selecting from an array of templates, which you can subsequently mess about with to get the site to meet your aesthetic needs. If you're a podcaster or musician or something in that vein, you can use the audio blocks feature where you can embed your tracks into the site. Or if you're a business owner, Squarespace's online storefront can help get your e-commerce shop up in no time. The platform's ease of use is especially helpful to those of whom are not totally savvy with the world of web design. So don't feel intimidated in the slightest about using it. And you can try it all out for free on squarespace.com. And if you like the experience, head on over to squarespace.com/JOSHREVELL to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. But of course, we're here to talk about Theo Pourchaire, so we might as well get into it, eh? So Theo Pourchaire was born in Gaillac, France, and almost immediately after exiting out of the womb, made a beeline for the nearest thing with 4 wheels and an engine. He started karting competitively at 7 years old, and pretty soon, Pourchaire was winning regional titles throughout France, beating out some exceptional talents whose names I'll not pronounce out of fear of being attacked by some Frenchists. International karting started in 2016, going up against some familiar faces, achieving consistently good results. He would continue karting right up until 2018, when the transition to cars was undertaken. Now at this stage, he was still 14 years old, which is a crazy age for a driver to make his Formula racing debut in, and it's because of his age that he couldn't compete in the main French F4 championship that he had signed up for. He was instead consigned, if you like, to the junior series that ran alongside it. Pourchaire's season was one of domination. In the junior series, he won 17 out of the 21 races, winning the title by over 100 points over his nearest competitor. His competition wasn't really in the main game, as he wasn't eligible for points in there. Nevertheless, he would take an overall race win at Spa-Francorchamps, and if you factor him into the overall standings, he would have finished 3rd overall for that year. A strong debut for sure. But 2019 would be the year where Theo would venture into the more competitive championships. This time in the ADAC F4 Championship in Germany, driving with US racing shrews alongside Alessandro Guerretti, Roman Stanek, and Arthur Leclerc. Some strong teammates. Well, actually, the whole damn field was strong. This is, after all, one of the premier F4 championships in the world. If you compete in this thing, you're staking a serious claim at a racing career. Either that, or you have too much of your parents' money to burn in adolescence. However, throughout the year, Pourchaire would beat all of his teammates, and would claim 4 wins, which was an exceptional effort. However, a thorn in his side would be Van Amersfoort driver, Dennis Hauger. Hauger was flaunting his speed all year, occasionally occasionally let down by his color blindness toward yellow flags, although heading into the last round at the Sachsenring, it was down to the wire between himself and Pourchaire. 2 pole positions as well as podiums in all 3 races helped Theo secure the championship by 7 points over Hauger. It was during the season 2 where Pourchaire was drafted into the Sauber Driver Academy. Now, while this academy isn't particularly notable for much of anything, Theo did draw the attention of Frederic Vasseur, team principal of the Alfa Romeo Formula 1 team. Now, this dude has been around for a while. He knows talent when he sees it, and has described Theo as a huge talent. And for the 2020 season, he would lend all the support he could as Theo headed for the FIA Formula 3 series, driving for the team founded by Vasseur, ART Grand Prix. At the start of the year, the question was put forward: who will win the FIA Formula 3 championship for 2020? Or in other words, which Prema driver is going to finish higher? Because the Prema Racing team is the yardstick for the field, with some of the best drivers in the game, with the best engineers, with the best cars on the grid. Beating them in anything else isn't exactly expected. And of course, throughout the 2020 season, they set the pace and it didn't look like anyone else was going to beat them. Obviously, you had your exceptions throughout the field that would provide a challenge here and there, and included in that bunch was Theo. His first round in Austria was pretty shit actually. A first race which was let down by poor qualifying, and a second race which was cut short after the engine on Alex Peroni's car was taken out by his hair. After the first round, Pourchaire had no points to his name. However, in the next 2 rounds in Spielberg and Hungary, he would take 2 race victories and quickly propelled himself up the pecking order in the standings. The next 2 rounds were a little more tricky, as it appeared that Theo struggled with pace relative to the Premas at least. Having said that, the first race at Silverstone would be his last non-points finish of the year. This would be crucial come in time for the final round at Mugello. Pourchaire continued to rack up podiums as the season went on, although with 2 rounds to go at least, Pourchaire was 5th in the standings, 46 points behind championship leader Logan Sargent. Any form of a championship assault from Theo's part should have been impossible, especially given how switched on the Premas were compared to ART. But of course, it didn't quite pan out that way. At Monza, Pourchaire would rack up 2 podiums, with a drive in race 2 which can only be described as exceptional. After making a mistake in the opening portion of the race, Pourchaire found himself back in 17th, but over the course of the race, he worked his way up the field. Now, a points finish would have been a good result given everything, but instead, he nestled his way into second place. What this meant was that having previously been 46 points behind the championship leader, Pourchaire was now just 24 points behind, heading into the last round at Mugello. There was still a lot of ground to make up, but what was once seemingly impossible was becoming more and more real. Race 1 at Mugello, Pourchaire starts from 7th, he then works his way up to the podium, and the gap between himself and the leader of the championship is down to 9 points. With a total of 17 points on offer for the final race, Pourchaire could very well win this thing. The final race of the season, and immediately, a lifeline has been afforded to Pourchaire. Logan Sargent crashes at the second corner and puts himself out of championship contention. He now only has one rival, Piastri, who, incidentally, had just moved ahead of Theo in all that melee. Once the safety car came out, Theo had a bit of a think about whether or not he wanted to stay behind Piastri or win the championship, and after a solid second of thinking, he decided that moving up the field was the better option. On the safety car restart, he passed Piastri and valiantly moved up the field as the race went on. He ultimately would finish 3rd in the final race of the season, but it wasn't enough. Piastri would win the title, with Theo missing out by just 3 points. Irrespective of what the results sheet says, however, Pourchaire drove like an absolute champion that year. And this is something reflected by Freddie Vasseur, who remarks, "There are some hallmarks of great champions: skill, composure, the knowledge of when to attack and when to hold back, and the ability to be competitive from the very start in any championship." Theo has shown all these qualities in his rookie season in Formula 3, and it's been incredible to watch this huge talent develop in front of our eyes. Missing out on the championship for such a small margin should not detract from an impressive performance, and he is absolutely right. Throughout the season, we saw that in the moments where Theo wasn't the fastest on track, he still found a way to achieve results. In those times where he made mistakes, he mitigated them, and when he was the fastest, he was exceptional. This year, he will be competing in Formula 2, again with ART, at the age of 17 years old. His rise through the junior ranks, as well as the manner of which he went about it, has been extraordinary, and there's no reason to suspect anything will change anytime soon. These are the hallmarks of a driver destined for great things in motor racing, and it's drivers like this that we need to have in Formula 1. Luckily though, drivers of Theo's caliber typically do end up making it to Formula 1. Ultimately, a glimpse at a Wikipedia article can sway one's opinion. A Formula 3 crown can make one think that Piastri is the next big thing in motor racing. But of course, while Piastri is no slouch by any means, there are intangibles at play here. Drivers of whom, when you watch them drive, give you the same feeling that Kanye West gets when he sees himself. We've seen that with drivers such as Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Drivers, well, you didn't need to look at their results even though they were there, because their performances on track were just outstanding. Theo was part of that group. I'm not the only one saying it, and it won't be the last either. So for now, enjoy the rise of Formula One's next superstar. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, I guess. Drop a comment below to clutch the YouTube algorithm's tinkle. Subscribe to the channel if you're awesome, and always remember, keep it respectful, be wholesome, don't be a marnus, and as always, I'll see you all later.